If this were the very first Christian message that you had ever heard, it wouldn't surprise you to know that serving others is primary to our calling. And if you've been a Christian for a very long time, since before you can remember, then you also know that by Jesus' example, the Bible teaches, let each of you look not only to their own interests, but to the interests of others. Well, Pastor, I'm more or less stuck in my house. I've been looking at the same faces across my living room or TV room for the past 10 weeks. My checking account is on a respirator, and my nerves are shot. I'm just not sure what it means to serve others. Well, I'm glad you're with us for a few minutes this morning. Thank you for joining us. We have a few small groups that have been meeting online through our church the past couple of weeks, and we're talking about the essential practices of the Christian life. This past week, it was about service. And so I asked the group, what does serving mean to you? Well, there's a lot of definitions for serving. Roger Federer came to mind, one of the best servers in the game of tennis. On this Memorial Day weekend, we reflected on serving one's country. One of our group members owns restaurants, and she thought about serving food. And others in our congregation thought about serving hospitality when we are able to worship in our building. You could go on. And then the question came up, if you serve, does that make you a servant? Are any of you servants? Doesn't sound like a lofty aspiration, does it? Our culture tends to relegate servants to lesser status, and our economy often considers the service industry as entry-level minimum wage kind of work. And yet, if you've never met Jesus, listen to this. Jesus said, whoever wishes to be great among you must be your servant. He turns the tables on that, doesn't he? You see, here's why Jesus was such a revolutionary. He turned what it meant to be a servant upside down. He called himself a servant. So the next time you go into work, whether that's in an office tomorrow or on your next Zoom call, find the highest ranking person in your organization and greet them with, hello, servant, and then let me know how that goes. Here's something else that Jesus taught. Serving is not just about the things that we do. Serving begins with orienting the compass of our heart to look outward. Now, in a minute, I'm going to share with you a number of ways that you can serve. Serve our community through what our church is doing, even if you can only do it from your kitchen table. But before we consider what we can do, I want you to know that serving begins with who you are. One of our small group members shared the story this past week that she has made it a daily goal to say 5 kind things to people every day. 5 simple acts and expressions of kindness. Maybe it's going to a cashier at a store or a gas station and thanking them for being there that day. Maybe it's saying hello to someone from behind your face mask to try to get through that awkward anonymity. Maybe it's complimenting someone on their eyeglasses. I would suggest refraining from commenting on people's hair right now, since it's been a long time since many of us have seen the barber or our stylist. I shared that I used to work in downtown St. Paul, and all the office buildings there are connected by Skyway. And so hundreds and hundreds of people move through the Skyways every day to and from work on a lunch break, going to get coffee, and so you pass them by. And I used to make an effort that as I looked at them, and you can imagine that many of them were looking pretty down and haggard, some of them just sort of going through the motions of a workday. And I would intentionally look at them in the face and smile. And what I found out was that it was almost impossible for them to resist smiling back. Now, I'm not going to say that it made their day, but in a way it made mine. Serving begins with kindness, which comes from humility, that others' needs are as important as our own. And then Jesus takes it one giant step further. When asked what was the greatest commandment of living the Christian life, Jesus said, to love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second, he went on, is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. And then you know what he said? He said that all of Scripture was summarized in those two commandments. So what that means for you and I is that we aren't sorted into all the servants over here and all those who are being served over here. You see, all of us are called to serve because all of us are in need of being served. That is, we depend on one another. And when we care for one another, we are loving God. As one of the final songs in my favorite musical, Les Miserables, says, to love another person is to see the face of God. I know some of you are struggling. Maybe you are frustrated with the safer at home orders, or you're just restless and want to get back out into the world again. Some of you have struggled with your health. Perhaps you've even lost someone during this difficult time. For some of you, the financial strain may have gotten heavy. Here's what's important for us as a church. It's to say, we see you. And church, you have to join me in that, because it can't just be my words. It might mean a phone call or a grocery run, or dropping a note in the mail the old-fashioned way, or maybe it's saying something kind on Facebook rather than posting another rant. You see, even if we can't come to our building in person, which many of us so dearly miss, we are connected. If you're on your laptop right now, or a phone, or whether you're watching this on Sunday morning or Wednesday night, whether you have worshiped in a church every week since Jesus was in the 3rd grade, or if you have stumbled upon this message this morning right after watching carpool karaoke videos, it doesn't matter. We are connected because we are made in the image of God. And Jesus commands us to love one another. So here are some tangible ways that we'd like to invite you to serve right now. Our congregation is coordinating an effort called Bags of Kindness. On Saturday, June 6th, we are going to be distributing 75 bags of groceries to people, and we'll be announcing more about that event this coming week. But right now, we're looking for donations to make this outreach possible, because the last thing we want right now is for people in our community to worry more about food, and we know that many of them do. And so we're asking for those who can sponsor a bag or purchase items for a bag or help buy a gift card that we can put in the bags. There's an announcement about the Bags of Kindness program elsewhere on our Facebook page. I'm going to include a reference to it on our comment thread on this message, but you can also see it elsewhere. And likewise, we are undertaking a considerable effort this summer for our summer lunch program. It's the 3rd year, and the first year we served 2,600 free lunches to the school kids of our community. Last year it was well over 5,000, and this year the Milton School District has come to us to coordinate a summer lunch program in light of the COVID-19 pandemic and the fact that they won't have in-person summer school. So it's a remarkable undertaking. We are grateful for the financial donations that we have received, and we continue to look forward. As well, we will be sending a list of donated items that we would ask you and invite you to donate. That will be coming out in our printed newsletter to all those who are on our mailing list. next week through the Milton Church. And if you are interested in helping, or if you would just like to send a message to me, I invite you to go to our website at miltonumc.org, click on the Contact tab, and you can send that message to me confidentially. Jesus came to serve and to inspire us that we might serve also. And there could be no more important time for us to serve than now. Whether it is doing what we can to change the world, or whether it's expressing kindness to someone. We thank you for your acts of kindness, and we thank you for your acts of service. I'm going to ask Melissa Hubbard to conclude our time together. Earlier this week from her living room, she recorded one of our favorite songs, Here I Am, Lord. You're going to see the link to that video in the comment thread. If you're watching live, it will appear there in just a few minutes, and so we invite you to stay and then to click on that video to conclude our time now. And Melissa, we thank you for offering the gift of this song. May we be bold enough to offer the words of that melody to God today. Here I am, Lord. Is it I, Lord? I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord. If you lead me, I will hold your people in my heart.